Wassail, sheep, goat, sheep, goat, sheep, goat. This is about the third or fourth time I've done your reading and I've been interrupted every time. So, I'm going to have another go and let's see what the message is. I get the feeling that the interruptions are something that's happening to you. I've got this lovely double stack of my new deck and I love them so much. And I'm doing these readings in honor of San Tarot, who's another of my favorite tarot readers. She's Canadian. Look her up, S-A-N, San Tarot. Canadian, does really beautiful cosmic messages, and I'm so grateful to the messages I've had from her. So I thought, let's give it a go. So, what messages do we have, please? For sheep and goats. For sheep, goat. What messages do we have for sheep, goat? What messages do we have for sheep, goat? It's only got one card. What messages do we have for sheep, goat? What messages do we have for sheep, goat? What messages do we have, please, for sheep, goat? What messages do we have 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 for sheep, goat? I need 12 cards for you. I've got 6. What messages do we have for sheep, goat? What messages do we have for sheep, goat? What messages do we have for sheep, goat? Ooh. 2, 3. Oh, 12. Great. So, I'm going to ring the bell in a minute. Then I'm going to eat a little piece of chocolate to bring down the spirit of cacao. And, which I've eaten so much chocolate now. I don't eat chocolate often. It's actually beginning to make me feel a little bit sick, but I'm doing it for you, sheep goat. So here's the bells. So I'm just going to move the cards because with the many readings I've done for you, the cards that have turned up again, I'm going to put them in the area where they were before. So just give me a wee moment. Okay, so we're beginning with... He's been in every single time I've pulled these cards for your reading. He's turned up. So this, and every time I'm told that this is something old. This is an energy from the past that you thought you'd already dealt with. And the energy I'm getting from it again is, it's like a bad relationship. But it's old, and you feel like you've moved on from it, and it feels like it's come back up again. Look, this guy's got his all-stars on, he's got Mercury's wings, like he's mercurial, not to be trusted. He's got his hat off, his little pork pie hat, and he's, you know, he's looking hot. I get this real sense that, you know, love letters, he really pursued, but the bowl, the emotions, are empty. And it's like you were his show pony. You were this object, this desire that he could have, and there was no genuine affection, and that somehow is inside your spirit, in your sacral. It's coming back out. It feels like you feel it as something that was very controlling, and it was. But the energy I'm getting is that it was cosmically part of the DNA structure. It's inherited from families back and back and back, and it's been triggered in your life so that you experience it. This time it has come with a much stronger sense of, with the major arcana card of the devil, who's also looking pretty fit. But look, this is someone who's all about the surface and no substance, and just, you're their puppet, you were their puppet, and there's something very casual about the way in which you were being manipulated. It meant nothing, and oh wow, and then this, it's like it tangled with you, and with this Two of Swords, and also the Nine of Swords, lots of crows. It's like that sense of everything crowding around. It's a bit Hitchcock's The Birds here. But you can see in this energy, this anxiety, this, you were unable to see what was going on around you. You were blindfolded, the confusion, and then when the veil lifted, you thought, that's great, I witnessed this, you've moved it, you've gone away from it, you've pushed it away, and yet during this moment of stillness that we're all in, it's rising up, and it's meant to, because actually what you've done is you've stored within your auric field, your DNA level of fractals, that frequency of ancestors' traumas inherited, so that they can be released. So you then have the Queen of Voices, which is the Queen of Swords, the energy that cuts away, with the moon. And the Queen of Swords, she's looking backwards. You have to excuse, I had to have the door open because when I was doing it earlier, it was so hot in here. But do you know, the level of traffic is immense. So apologies if you can't hear me properly. So this Queen of Voices is looking back. The point of it being voices rather than the Queen of Swords is that in order to cut this away finally, you have to speak it. You have to bring it into physical frequency to remove it. And that might mean connecting with some kind of anger and fury, but you've got to, when you feel that anger and fury, you need to use that anger and fury as that level of frustration and confusion, but then you actually have to see the energy as something that you needed to manifest in order to reach the second half. So this is like the first half of your reading, these first 6 cards. But without this energy, you wouldn't make it to the next part. And look, it's like you're overthinking. Look at all of these crows. There's an absolute murder of crows going on here. And you have the moon. I'm being given the notion that it's in the next 2 weeks that you have to work on self-love to achieve compassion and forgiveness. And that actually begins with forgiving you, forgiving yourself, so that you could move on. This is the full moon in Sagittarius, and that's about moving forwards. And that'll be coming in 2 weeks' time. There is two paths here. The old path, the darkness, the trauma that you had, and then there's this new path, the purity of change, of new beginnings, of feeling that energy just float away. Then what do we have? The wheel of fortune begins to turn. Okay, so this journey that you're on throughout this coming year to go and rescue souls begins with this self-love. When you can begin to forgive yourself, self-love, and put that love within you, it allows you to appreciate and understand what this feels like. But also, it's about you needing to connect with ancestor spirits and forgive them too, because they had no ability to end or fix their own traumas because of the time that they lived in. So it just kept building and amassing till it just became this sort of a tornado of thoughts. And it's the beginning of this rescuing is you rescuing your ancestors' souls that are kind of still trapped in the earth because they're part of the earth's DNA that hasn't been moved on. And I'm not saying that the souls of your ancestors are trapped only in the real world. The cards are saying they've moved on, but there's another aspect of their energy that still remains here, that's within the earth and within core tiny parts of your DNA, part of that original frequency that comes on. And it's time to move it forwards. The Wheel of Fortune, you need to be able to come to the top of the Wheel of Fortune and let the other versions of you, it's not to let go of them, it's not to remove them, it's not to forget them, but it's to actually see them as something that is sort of to be playfully readdressed. I know that sounds very odd, but it comes with the Knight of Materials. So you've got this mandala kind of energy frequency change, and this card here, I want to just show you back to the original card, the show pony that you were. It's time for you to actually be free and to bring this mandala energy of ancestors with you. And it's a dream. It's like this happens at night. It's that they're telling me that this is a sort of sense of restlessness, like this when you can't sleep, the anxiety card of not sleeping. This is the point at which in the astral realm you can begin to fix these emotions, but to do that you have to self-love. So there will be a little bit of not sleeplessness but restless sleep for the moment, but you need to say to your ancestors before sleep, it's time now to help me to release the stuck energies and to move forward. It's not that you haven't moved forward, it's just that you actually haven't let this energy out of your physical body. It's still sitting in there. So then what do we have? We have the Five of Voices. And this really is the olive branch. You bringing the healing energy of the olive branch. And this down here is all the ancestors, all waiting for you to move from the old energy to the new energy. But do you see how there's very little difference? And there is that sense of Gemini season, but there's this real sense that it's not that it makes you physically different, because it is in your physical body, but what it's doing is it's making you emotionally different. So it doesn't change your body as such, but it does bring about an emotional transformation. So that's very beautiful. And again, we have the crows just down here. This is like earth spirit, because crows are usually spirit from above. This is spirit of ancestors, just that energy being able to take flight and finally be able to take off sheep and goat and just leave, just really beautifully. And that olive branch of peace and love is what comes forwards, and that gives you the energy of the Fool, a brand new beginning. I have to, oh wow, look, see, it's almost like there's a ladder from the underworld, but do you see how this underworld is like the cosmos? Because your ancestors that have moved on to new lives in new places, this trace element of them that still exists in the trauma that's down here is being fed by the cosmos. It's coming down, it's going right into the earth core, and then it's radiating back out through your molecules. And you've got the same, these two cards have that same sun, star, healing energy as part of it. This is the newness, this is the beginning of something to transform you. Absolutely beautiful. But I still get a slight sense of it being something that you fear. And it's not until you actually get to this card that you really open your eyes to the truth of things. And when you do that, when you begin with this brand new journey, coming out into a new frequency, healed, really healed, and it's the beginning of a journey where once you're healed and you've got your sacral energy really resonating fully, then you will begin by just being to help release this energy from others and other people around you. And then as we reach the end, it's such a beautiful card. You have the Queen of Wands, and she has found her frequency. She's found her magic. She's found her sacral self-love. She's lit. Look, here she is. She has power in her hand. The magic is in her hand. She's so happy. But what I'm hearing from this is like all of these ancestral souls that you're going to be releasing. It's not that you're releasing their whole soul, as I've said. It's you're releasing a trace memory of them that's jarring. And there's a cat, a familiar, because the energy is familiar, because it's inherited. The things that you're helping to remove is very familiar energy. And the joy, her thoughts become, your thoughts become so much more spectacular. And it ends with the Magician. This is a beautiful, beautiful card. This is divine feminine manifestation. This is a different kind of manifestation. This is a manifestation that's not to do with old raw male energies. This is spiritual manifestation of emotions. And there are the there's 4 orbs in this. This is for each of the suits, earth, fire, air and water. And they're in the air. All of these elements are in the air. This is a different magic. This is not about taking a bowl, filling it with herbs, making a sacrifice, doing all that kind of thing. This really is the energy of drawing down the divine feminine ether and connecting it with the air. And I say this because within the air there are earth molecules, because air is made up of oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, all of those things that create the gas. There's also air in air, because it's air, we call it air. There's moisture in air, and there's also fire, light in air. And actually there's 2 types of light. There's moonlight and there's sunlight. And the release is done through moonlight. This new manifestation is to bring in the energy of joyous, divine masculine, earth sunshine, to combine with the divine feminine, which will then bring about a change within the earth and balance for you. So it's very beautiful. And then to end with every reading, I'm just pulling the bottom card from the deck, just to give us a beautiful, the 6 of Pentacles, to absolutely become in your flow. All the pieces, all the particles, all the atoms, everything within your body will then begin to change. You will manifest upgrades to your body. But at the moment, you've got to look back at these very old traumas that you thought you'd worked through and to let them go and release them. So gorgeous. I mean, really, really lovely. Thank you, cards. Thank you, Spirit. And this, notice the infinity symbol running through here. Absolutely gorgeous. I've just noticed another thing on this devil that's making me laugh. That's the Aleister Crowley sigil. He was never that handsome, though. Anyway, that's your reading. I look forward to the next one, because that's the biggie. That's the solar eclipse, the next new moon, 80% over land and over the Himalayas at its most sacred moment. So that's going to be splendid. So sheep, go. Have a lovely time until then, and wassail.